No, it's just for information. I was a 3-year term with this happened, and the partner I worked with figured out, I'm like,
And you're like, I'm not taking it. You're like, legal or not?
hey stranger, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Everything good? How was your trip?
Oh, thank you.
You were,
It really is.
Was
There's no choice.
oh, you were on last.
So it's not an easy thing to drive.
Right.
Trying to teach you this.
Yeah.
You
were definitely here, because I didn't have nothing to write.
There you go.
All right, yes.
I definitely.
Which one are you gonna have to hand up? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, we're okay for a while.
Oh, that's good.
It is a good time for you.
Okay.
Just take a look at that now.
Y'all, it's like 6:30.
6 is even better.
6 would be fabulous. My husband's out of town. Both my children have baseball games. My nanny has been there since 7 this morning, and I promised her I would try to get home
It's efficiency
as
today.
soon as possible. I was like, oh.
Yes. I got some out thinking
Good.
Just in case. I'll try to get all this.
Yeah, so I think I'm actually going to, so I was telling you what, I'm setting your desktop at the office, because laptops are big and chunky, and now the tablets are around, I'm like, I need a good reason why a tablet almost doesn't.
Now, Lisa and I were talking about, after we get this refunding off our plate, kind of move on, for me to start calling in and Skyping the meetings. Just
You guys do
because
things.
I'll be here and let's try it, see if you'll like it. Cost cutting, yeah, but sure.
And my office does have tablets.
That's yours
or
too, mine too,
iPads,
yeah.
But they are, as far as like flipping a PDF document, we've been using it for about 2 years. So you guys just.
Okay, so that,
I can bring them, we wouldn't have to worry about.
because that was the one
Oh,
that
how are
we'd
you?
have to
I'm
go
good, how are
to
you?
pay for it, I didn't come, if you have
Is
that.
that next to you, signing those checks? Yeah.
How you doing?
One on to me.
Two of them are.
They're all
Yeah,
good.
thank- Thank you, Lisa.
I think
Julianne, thank
As
you.
soon as the board.
Yeah.
Those are consent,
Talk about it,
consent.
approve it.
Yeah, all that, yeah. How you doing? Thank you. How are you? Good to see you. See you.
Okay, Phil, you missed, and then you missed my comment, I'm gonna try to get out of here as quick as possible, I need to catch an early flight back, so if we seem rushed, I apologize in advance, but.
I can talk quick.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 5:01, any public? Okay, minutes from May 7th, did everyone review, and were there any questions or comments? Motion? Inyat made the motion, is that the second guy?
Yes.
Just because we haven't done it for a while, we are broadcasting again, so.
Oh, okay.
We're live to probably 3 people out there, man, yes,
Okay, item number 4, reconstitute the board and approve filing district registration form. Inyat and Amesh were, congratulations, y'all were reelected for 4-year terms by virtue of no one else filing. But we do need to file a new registration form reflecting those new 4-year terms. We recently reconstituted the board, and currently we have Guy as president, Patrick is vice president, Noel is secretary, Inyat is treasurer, and Amesh is assistant secretary. Any changes wanted by the board, or are y'all okay with that?
Patrick, motion?
I'm fine, where you have this.
Anybody else?
Patrick, vice president and chief technology officer. So-
All right, I'm looking to get out of that one also.
No. Okay, so motion approving the amended district registration form to reflect the new terms for Inyat and Amesh.
Yep.
So that was Guy and Amesh, all in favor?
Yeah, I,
Okay, Phil, the 1A report, sir.
Yeah. If you look at page 1, which is the executive summary that you've seen before, this is through 7 months. District by district, the first page is revenue, the second page is, remember, is expenses. We're 53% through the fiscal year. And this is by district. second graph, as you know, is major revenue sources, all three sources this year versus last year, 2012 and 13. And all of them have caught up or ahead of last year, save except for permits and inspections, which are 21% behind. And we'll talk about that in a minute. The third graph is water revenue, water sewer, 2012-13 compared to this fiscal year. And you can see the water revenue is within 1.3% of what it was last year, the blue versus the red, and then the sewer is slightly ahead by 7.4%. And you'll see in another slide, I think we had 231 more sewer connections this year versus last year. Permit revenue, as we talked about before, the blue line represents actuals for last year, and we had 4 spikes in permits and inspections last year. Through 7 months of this year, we've had 2 major spikes, one in April and one in November. I'm anticipating that we should finish close to our budgeted of $2.1 million for this fiscal year as far as revenues for permits. And you can see the trended, just below them, the summary of the trended projection for revenues. Blue is actual for last year. This red is actual for 2013-14. That's the 21% difference. And again, I think we'll catch up to the $2.1 million that we projected. Property taxes for all the districts except B, you can see they all finished, this is compared to 2012 versus 2013-14, and all of them have finished well. Sure, Lisa gives you a report on your own district. Moving to page 2, unless there are questions.
the water board, Zane and I were back and forth with this parks thing. It was agreed that the same doing the work that the parks would all be transferred to the water districts in which they were located. After about a month, that changed to the parks would all be transferred to the District 1A. And Chris Bryant didn't want the individual districts to have the parks. And then Frank left, he wasn't around, Zane passed away, nothing got done with Liz. And out of the blue, this agreement surfaces in November. So we're obviously working on sometime in September and October.
Well, we started discussing it last fall, and then the recreational easements were recorded after we first inquired to Ross about the status of that. And then these documents were recorded, and Guy, I think you sent them to me?
Be approved.
So my board's concerned, we can't spend public money. We can't spend ratepayer funds on part of the owned land.
But our problem with it is the fact that they have a clause in there, so that's what we discussed.
The other clause is illegal. If there's a judgment rendered in the court down in Houston that said you can't spend ratepayer money on
But
private owned
the
land.
parks have been now conveyed to 1A. There's an easement for 1A to own and operate the parks and the infrastructure on those parks. So that gets around that judgment. So they, as long as they have a legal right,
That must be the other confusion. So they modified the agreement from what they first put out?
no, mine's, what,
Is that additional language that's been added to the agreement since it was first put out?
it was in the original recorded easement back in the fall. Yeah, go ahead, I'm good.
So give your report. Any questions for me? It's pretty easy. We had, we did that $73,000 check, we looked into it more, and now that's all, a moot point, because we heard about the McCall Gibson letter, and we have two brand new checks. Payroll for today, we're paying, we did write a check last meeting, anyhow, for the AWBD, because we weren't anticipating meeting this month. And then, Guy, we were going to catch up with him, because I'm not sure he's going to So, just 1 month of bills, Association Water Board, and that's any out speeding. Anyone else? I think it's actually too late to enroll, actually. I think that ended like right a week or so.
Well,
get enough documentation, so we just fix it then. As long as it's in the current fiscal year, I'm kind of okay with it.
Do you expect us to go cash flow positive from now on? Also?
For the utility side, you should get close to neutral to being very little additional due. We had budgeted $244,000 needing to be paid to 1A. And they were writing a check for $180,000. I had, if using that same cash flow, you should have been writing a check for approximately $210,000, I believe it was. So we're under budget because the expenditures are a little low. So I still think you're gonna write another $40,000 or $50,000. But, you know, when we did the utility account, we knew it was going to be negative what the total expenditures, because you're paying 1A for not only your water and sewer and streets and drainage, but also all those administrative costs. And that's what basically permitting and administrative is what you're paying for out of your property tax dollars.
What's your position on, do we need to still go get that loan for our payment due
I
to?
don't think so.
That's kind of my thought.
Yeah, this far into the year,
Seems
we
like
haven't
we're,
seen any major things pop up. I'm not hearing from Phil that, you know, we're gonna have any major items popping up.
we didn't have any surprises
They
on this
decided not to.
reconciliation.
Yeah, they decided not to buy all that $200,000 of new software, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of new things coming down the pipe. So, I would.
If we need it, we can always get it, right, it's later, so.
Yeah, if we do need it, and I mean, at this point, we know we have the cash, and we're only talking about it's 196,000, but we're so far further down the year than we thought we were gonna be when we were anticipating getting that loan, that you have more revenue coming in, so you're not going to have those moments where you're strapped, you know?
Well, probably, right now, the tentative closing date for Ross is July sometime.
Keep some, change.
I'll not talk about that, but we're 6 months in, further in, and we're gonna start having revenues start coming back in December and January. And we have probably enough cushion that, when I was looking at your report last night, I concur with you, I don't think we need the loan.
Yeah, I mean,
And
the
if
interest
something
on it-
pops up in the interim, and we do need some money, we'll go get a loan to hold us over till we get tax revenues. But I think for now, we're in really good shape.
Well, what's our estimated savings on that again?
Right now, it is at 7.7%. And Lori said the interest rates had not changed since she ran this, for the last meeting in May, so the market's holding. Ross finally pre-filed a transcript with the Attorney General's office. I think maybe yesterday or Monday, he was supposed to have a call with them. Today, he's shooting for the sale to be July 7th meeting. And he's requested the Attorney General to issue their preliminary approval letter by Friday, June 27th. This will be a parameter deal, so we can technically get it earlier, but the city will want preliminary AG feedback before adopting anything. We will also need to update the PID service and assessment plan, even though assessments are not technically levied. So that will be the next thing to work on based on the PID 2 update.
Okay.
So,
But the estimated savings refunded is 700,000, or was that? Was that?
the net present value benefit from the last set of numbers was $440,000.
They're still taking $1 million.
They're taking $1 million out of our debt service fund from where we've over levied on our debt service for all these years, and that'll be a cash contribution to the refunding now, so that improves.
It's a contained principal of a house.
You immediately pay that down. We got a good rating. Have you seen a bill for the rating yet from anyone? I haven't either.
So last time we met, we were talking about closing on June 30th. That's pushed out now to the new date, July 7th.
That's what Ross is telling me. I think it'll be later.
If we could get it later, so we could do the certified values. Otherwise, people don't have it.
You know, ideally, I want to close no later than August 15th on this, just because we have to make that 9/1 date. Ross is telling me no problem. Especially with July 4th holiday, I'll be shocked if we close on the 7th. I think it'll roll over to sometime in July.
Just nervous about Ross's activities.
Lori, I think Lori had and I was not a party to the conversation, but I think she kind of had a Jesus discussion with Ross last week about getting this deal filed.
Sorry, being the.
Lori Sullivan, our FA, that works for Raymond James, and she's the FA for all of these projects. I really like her. She's doing a good job, very thorough. I've never worked with her before this district, and she's knowledgeable, and, she had that discussion, and she's been interfacing with Julie Partain, who represents the city, and I'll be meeting with Julie next Tuesday on a couple of issues, so this will be brought up. Okay, any questions for Lisa? Motion to approve the bookkeeper's report, and you didn't do tax collection yet, did you? Or did you? Okay. Guy made a motion, second? Yes. No, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, tax collection report?
I don't know if I sent that to Mary, she probably pulled it on her own though, but anyway, it is, I actually only had the number through April 30th, because the May 1 report
I don't think
hasn't
we
been,
have
the May 30, the May 31 number hasn't been released yet. Those reports might have been posted today, so you technically are looking at the same number as last month, the whole 98.44%, so you may have collected a little bit of the 33,000, not too terribly worried about it, but, yeah, you guys can ask them. So Patrick, do you want to take possession of the money checks to deliver, or would you like me to just pop them in the mail?
Yeah, that'd be better. I mean, I'm trying to be irresponsible as well. Like even our wife, she's like, oh, they have the checks, maybe that's it.
Does anybody else want to, come up and,
I can get, seriously, I can take care of it.
oh, it's fine, like, we can mail it. I can also handle it if you like, so.
Okay, motion to approve the tax collection report.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Your preliminary value is still holding at 264. Someone managed to get it down a little bit.
Any updates on the website, Patrick?
So I finally got some stuff caught up, so I got, the rate order, the reason I discovered that rate order issue that we talked about.
Okay, and we recirculated
Yeah.
one. Thank you for catching that.
But I was going through and trying to catch everything up again, that's how I caught this, so it was caught up. I don't have any stats really to show, and I know that I was looking at this yesterday and the day before, and I was supposed to be meeting. We took a pretty big dip, but we still get, a handful of people coming out per month, come out and see what we're doing. So that's about it, I guess.
I'm embarrassed to ask, did Michael send you the revised policies from the last meeting?
I don't think I had the revised policies from last meeting.
So I don't remember him sending those.
I'm glad you did ask, actually, because I've got policies that have been trickling in throughout the year. And I wonder if I can just get everything revised.
We will send you everything
I
at
just post them
once,
all at
okay.
once, yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of lost steam with the website for a
Okay.
while, and I just want to make sure.
We'll
it's all
send you
up
the
to date.
most current of everything, and that way you only have to post one up.
That's
Do
good.
you want me to do a recap and send it to you for this meeting?
That'd be good too.
I think I prepared a couple, and I didn't see them show up on the website, so I was like, well, maybe, I need to talk to you, see if the format was.
No, it was all me, it was not you, so we'll get it caught up then.
Okay, so no action needed on that. Under attorney's report, we just.
I'm sorry, I did one more question about that. So we had a little issue earlier in the broadcast, and we lost, I think, about 10 minutes. Do we need to note that somewhere, or how do we handle that? I don't want anyone to think we just stop broadcasting because we went in executive session.
18 minutes of missing tape.
Exactly. So the audio may have still been going, but the video dropped. I'll have to wait up to the meeting to see what we lost exactly, but we actually lost a little bit of broadcast.
Over the time that we don't broadcast.
Yeah, I think that's different though. If we announce we're going to broadcast and we go black for 10 minutes, I'm sure, what do they go black for? So I don't know if anything legally we have to do to post something somewhere and say, this is what we talked about for those 10 minutes, or I got to see
We'll
what
reflect
exactly
in
it
the
is.
minutes that we went off, and, we're only legally required to keep the minutes.
Okay.
And, if we do broadcast, make a good faith effort, but, you do need to keep a written record of it. So we'll note that in it. Okay,
I've went to the Trophy Club transcripts a couple times. Sometimes people aren't standing close enough, so they just, there's like no audio, they're just standing there, and all you see is just people moving around like ants, and it's just, then they come right back in, the next person talks into the microphone. So.
okay, we discussed the recreational easements. I have presented to the board a new interlocal agreement for Denton County, Texas, with Denton County, Texas for the collection of taxes for a period of October 1, 2014 through 9/30/2015. A few items to note: we are required to adopt our tax rate by September 29, 2014. And the charge for our account is 69 cents, which is still a fabulous deal. So we recommend approval of that. There's no material changes in the agreement from our prior year's agreements. I think Michelle does a fabulous job. So,
Motion?
Patrick, second?
Yep.
Guy, all in favor?
Aye.
And my only discussion for this year was how the fees are paid, because they just suck it all out of M&O. And that just kind of messed it up for some districts, especially this one. They're gonna go get Wilmington to get the tax thing. But they're like, we don't get into competition
Yeah,
with
they
that
won't.
service. So,
They do kind of a one-time vacuum of funds, and then
Well,
you have to allocate.
like, they ironed out the whole vacuuming out the money, but not the whole reporting it to you. So just like magically disappeared out of a deposit, and you have to go like figure out which deposit. So we had some reporting, and they've improved the reporting as requested. So.
And I'll talk to you on some ideas on what some of my other districts do, but it would involve setting up a new account. But we'll talk about that, a new interim tax account. I'll talk to you about that.
And we did have an account for just the taxes.
Okay.
So, and I wasn't, once they told me which deposit it came out of, I was able to back into it using their reports and the deposit. It's more just the what day did you take it out, because I'm not gonna search through, daily deposits during,
Okay.
looking for it. So,
Okay.
But yeah, so they were happy on that.
Okay, we discussed the refunding bonds. I may need for y'all to have a quick meeting. I thought we probably would have already done it by now, sometime in the next 3 to 4 weeks. If we need to approve any documents associated with the refunding bond sale. We've already approved our parameter resolution, but it's very common that there'll be additional documents that need to be signed or certifications that need to be made by the board. So if we do sign those, I'd like to have that done in an open meeting where we publish an agenda. Ross is supposed to let me know, and I'll review and send those up to y'all. But I'll keep you posted on the status of that. And then, based on what we're hearing, I'm recommending we do not have a July meeting. It falls very close to July 4th. I hope y'all all have more exciting plans than coming here, even though this is very fun. But then we'll defer we'll wait until the August. We should have our draft of the FMOP for the next fiscal year. Those comments are due back, according to Phil's calendar, by August 15th. So as soon as we get that, I'll circulate that around to everyone, and then we'll meet in August.
Okay.
So any questions?
If anyone gets anything and you don't see me copied on the email, you think I should have it, you can forward it on to me. Sometimes I'm not copied on it. So. Especially like that.
You don't get copied on emails from Phil. So, yeah.
If it's accounting related, it's usually more helpful to have.
Okay, yeah, I've noticed that you don't get copied on some.
Yeah, because he sends it to you guys a lot. So if it's accounting and you think, oh, we'll need to look at it, or you're gonna have questions for me, send it on.
Well, I think he communicates with y'all and that, which is fine, but if it's something you think merits Lisa's or mine attention, please forward it on.
We've actually made him up at the coffee shop a couple Fridays, showed up, and he's been, so far so good, we're pleased with this.
Well,
He doesn't always agree with us, always agree with him, but he's open and he's willing to listen, so I'm appreciative of that.
No, I think that's,
And I'm really glad they called McCall Gibson, because we were not bridging the gap on the $80,000 due for that year. And,
Right.
the 14,000 is closer, I understood,
Is that what the delta was? There was a claim of about 80,000 for those 3 years?
That's what, well, they invoiced us $80,000 for 2013, and I was saying, well, 2012 hasn't been fully closed until the audit was done, and I didn't think that the amounts being paid were correct. It looked like some items had been moved, and so I was like, 2012 needs to be closed, 2013, I need you to validate this, because I'm like, my numbers are worlds away. And so, you know, when we did the true up, it was almost break even. Well, Joseph said there were some balance sheet only changes, and that's where the 14,000 came in. I'm like, that I can get behind. I can understand in the auditor world, they do that. And I'm like, FYI, we're using the P&L for the income statement for doing this true up. So if things need to go back and forth, it's longer in you know, auditor world. But I'm like, we need to keep those accounts as accurate as possible and just, so he understands, so. But that's where, and then the amount he came up with for this year is very close. In fact, I had a little bit higher number. Looks like when they did the cost sharing reports and they've gone and adjusted something out, and so the actual expenses are lower, especially in sewer. So,
I guess the question that I have is it safe, is it accurate to say, but for an independent person reviewing those two audits, we already paid 80,000 in benefit? Is that a fair statement or not a fair statement?
I think we would have been spending a lot of time and effort on bookkeeping and legal fees arguing about it.
see, my
Legal sheet, if we were using wrong, we'd be spending. So that's my point, is that sometimes I get asked, says, you know, you guys, why are you spending money on a separate lawyer and a separate bookkeeper? Why are you doing that? What's in it? And I'm curious, and I can put together anecdotal stories to say, well, but for that, we would have incurred costs above and beyond.
I mean, at the end, my opinion would have always been the 80,000 was not accurate, you shouldn't pay it. If the board came to me and goes, pay it anyway, I would have written the check.
Sure.
So.
But if you hadn't been here, that wouldn't even come to light. It would have just been.
It would have been, you know, you would still have them as the accountant, you would have no knowledge of it, period. You know, I'm not sure if the, you know, accounting activity of 1A is being reflected to you in a way that you fully understand all the money they've spent, all the money they've taken in. So I know we get a lot of information on permits and things like that, but the actual accounting side, I don't think is Phil's strongest suit at this point. He's still kind of getting up to speed on this. So that information is kind of just lost. So, you know, when it does come to truing up which district knows what, we're still, you know, I think you guys are getting, you know, hope that you feel like you're getting good information. Another thing is sometimes I think we've identified other revenue sources and other savings in the budget years that, at least for my expense, you have offset. When I do look through the bills and what is allocated to you, you're not allocated as much legal as you used to be. So you are paying extra for legal, but not as much as you think. It's not double.
Sure.
So there's just some other overhead.
Okay.
It has come down in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's, with everything going on with 1A, I will say this, Ross's fees aren't outrageous. You know, they're fairly reasonable because they're an active employer. There's employment law issues, real estate issues, water district issues.
They're only not outrageous if the values there.
I mean, when I look at the actual bills, I'm looking at the actual physical invoices.
So as a percentage of the overall budget, they're very small.
And if you guys want the actual invoices, I mean, I'm talking physical PDF copies of every invoice, copy of the check that was sent. And so when I'm looking at them, these are real and legitimate items I would see in a district. So when we first started out, that wasn't necessarily so much, but it has become a lot cleaner and a lot more appropriate.
Well, hopefully the other guys are better than this also, so there's a learning process there.
Well, I think it has. I think everyone's percentages, we've seen the percentages B and D primarily are the recipients of this, and it just seems to get a little bit cleaner.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's just by nature of the, you know, questioning, and Liz was very accounting focused, so everything else may have, well, besides the accounting, if anything, I was really tight on her.
Good night, y'all.
Are we done?
Yeah. We adjourn?
Y'all need to adjourn.
Are we on? Motion to adjourn? Is that?
Motion.
You guys have
Did you have something you want to say, Guy?
Yeah,
I don't even want to say something for like 10 minutes.
You guys
You know,
just
the
adjourned?
letter makes it really clear.
I don't know if they heard it yet.
You need a motion?
1A said we owe 357,000. Lisa said we owe them 180,000. The accountants, after reviewing everything, said we owe them 195,000.
Yeah.
You know, that's 160,000 plus that we saved because we're using licensed services. It's clear.
Otherwise, if it weren't, you know, were like this, it was just people in the neighborhood just rubber stamping everything coming through, it probably would just slip through without comment on notice. Not dubiously, but, errors happen, and, it's.
That's the public piece of it. The piece that's not stated here is what costs are being controlled, because somebody's digging in and looking at this other stuff.
Yep.
Because there were, I mean, I can honestly say whether it was accidental it was allocated to you, whether it was temporary at the time, but we've questioned items, they disappear off of the allocation to you. If someone else, they're being allocated to somebody else,
Yeah.
I'm not getting the detail. I have very few items at this point that I do have questions about. Monthly water truck rental, I'm not sure what you're renting a water truck every month. You have a lot less pieces of heavy equipment that are being leased through the district. Either you own them now, and that's okay. You spend a lot of money on fuel, and I'm not sure your fleet of trucks out here warrants that, if there's other heavy equipment there. But those are really the only two, and as far as the percentage that you would be saving, it's not as high.
Well, the NSO thing, so boy, I don't want to come across wrong, I think you guys are doing a great job. But I like to be able to say, well, here's a great example of where we save X amount of dollars by having an independent council, independent bookkeeper.
And for the
Yeah,
12
on a
months,
yearly basis.
yeah, the accounting expenses year-to-date are 12,000, I think it is.
Yeah, I did fitness, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, and I would say that if I go back and I look, I've probably either found or reduced at least my fee. Now, Julianne's is a little harder, but, now over time.
Think about items like the GM of the district and himself as suburban. That hasn't happened, so yes, that kind of stuff's gone away.
So guys, excuse me, you said, so we ended up going in 195,000. What was it that I haven't read the whole letter.
The first paragraph ends, they said we owe them 357,000.
Okay.
So that was their claim. Lisa said she believes we owe them 180,000, and that's the
That's what
second
they agreed.
last. And what we agreed on was 195.
Okay.
Well, and the other one that I think you're definitely going to get written off, because my position is the 129,000. That 129,000, which originates, sits on your audits from 2003. And the auditor said it was, at the time, he vaguely remembers there being legal bills that were not appropriately allocated to B, that were clearly for B activities. So he's like, you guys allocated this to somebody else, or you paid them some other way, they need to be allocated to B. And in the 8 years that they were your bookkeeper, they never cleared it up.
So if we want to push that one forward, do we?
We kicked the ball back to Liz and said, anyone who ever wants to get paid for something, produce the documentation showing it. Because the auditors say we gave everything back that's original, and as a government entity, you're supposed to keep all records. I have records for a lifetime in my storage unit. So even after you guys are gone and dissolved and whatever, your boxes will sit and rot in my air-conditioned, temperature-controlled thing until forever. Unless Louisville wants to take them, which I doubt they would. So then, so we told Liz, we're like, produce the auditor's documents saying what it was, the invoices that were not paid, and why they weren't paid. And then kind of give us an explanation of how you didn't clean this up on your own for 8 consecutive audits. And that maybe it wasn't somehow accidentally paid another way or some other way, because I'm like, in the whole grand scheme, I'm thinking your 129,000 probably been paid either directly or indirectly. So without being told why this wasn't cleared up, why it wasn't paid, why this journal entry wasn't, made, because it was all just journal entries to pull cash. So I'm like, it's a better chance it's either bad accounting and it can't be proved, and the appropriate thing to do at that point, which we've done it in other districts, like you can't prove it, you write it off. Both parties just let it go.
I mean, do we even legally have an option to do anything else? I would think that as a government entity, we can't just pay stuff when somebody says pay.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the auditors can say at one point it was real, and my contention would be, when $10 million was going through the account, how do you know it was not paid? All it is a journal entry, so full cash.
So everybody here could agree, yeah, we probably did incur that cost at one point or another.
And I
But
think it
because of
probably
the-
got appropriately
Yeah.
paid. And so here's where, when I've had other districts I've acquired that had big, messy, cost sharings, and then all it is just a big hoop at cash and money's, flying around everywhere. When I took over the books, they're like, so-and-so is this money, so-and-so is that money, and I'm like, I think we're gonna call it even. Whoever's
So
cash is in their accounts.
reasonable parties may do that. Our experience with 1A, and well, it's really 1A in this case, is that
They wanna take it all the way to court. The court's gonna go, prove it. The audit is not proven. The audit says, the documents you gave me said this. Who produced the documents? You can't. And you can't prove that you didn't also appropriately sign it off, and when being $10 million, the auditor is not necessarily focused on whether or not that one liability got properly offset.
So I think we should probably have a conversation with Julianne to,
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to get sued over it again.
And I don't want to be sued again either.
I mean, have they made a demand for it?
No, they haven't, but it's that one outstanding item that pops up in the audit.
Yeah, I mean,
The other
that's-
debt is a plan for now. Everything else is,
And I think, you know, we made some really good progress in that with Phil's help over the past couple months. You know, the whole allocation of what house was in what district, and things were behind us and done, clearing up 3+ years of audits. And then, you know, you guys, of course, played a big role in that also, and Phil, without Phil's help, it doesn't happen. And I'd just like to get everything clean if we can, without going back to court.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that, trying to get them to focus on that wouldn't incur, you know, if Julianne just makes a request, saying our formal request is that you know, produce the documents, make it happen, and then after that, tell her, don't spend a lot of time on it, because we don't want to pay you to chase around us potentially owing them money, when all it would be a document to sign it off. You can also have her draft the agreement that says 1B and 1A agree to write this off, let it be done, clean up our books, and if they all sign it, then great. If not, then we just write on the audit, so.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Now, if you guys have any other
Call for a
questions,
vote.
Yes.
projects,
Oh.
future stuff?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You make a really good Julian, very good.
Do you guys have any update on the trailers at the elementary school?